Yeah, I'm gonna send out one more update.
No. Talking to Cat.
Yeah, I figured.
Wanted to jump on the desk and make a surprise guest appearance.
I want to see who you're talking to. That's all. Just wanted to see. Um, that is there. So we have somebody in the crowd. Well, we did for a moment. Hopefully they come back. I just wanted to share this out one more location. Especially since on this one I don't have it on both of them. I mean, I only have it on YouTube. I don't have it on Twitter.
Your audio's a little weird.
Oh, I don't have my microphone on. That's why.
Hmm.
Let's see if I can do any adjustments with that. I'm not sure how much juice my battery has. That's why I didn't. I forgot to charge it. Let's see. Well, is my volume still a little off? Can you hear me okay? Hey,
Yeah.
there's propaganda in the house. What's up, Prop?
Yeah, you sound a bit better.
Okay. I could try hooking in my mic. I don't know if it's might have a little bit more to it than I think, but it'll probably kill off on me somewhere throughout the stream. Once I can get it up and running. Hold on. Need to get my mic ready. So I guess what I will do.
Give me 1 second. I need to boot this guy out. He's gonna be too much of a distraction.
Oh, I get it. Hello, everybody who's out there. Sorry for the delays and everything. Behind a little bit, trying to get everything situated. Trying to get some food in my belly before I started. Looks like I had some food on my shirt, but that's neither here nor there. All right, how's everybody doing out there so far? Hopefully, Prop, you're doing better than we talked to you earlier in the week. Hopefully, things are going okay for you. I figure in order for us to go into this lesson plan correctly, I will ask everybody in the crowd, if I say Mystery Babylon, what does that mean to you? Who is Mystery Babylon? Much love to you also, Prop. Who is Mystery Babylon? Buzz, can you pull up that scripture for me, sir? Before we get into establishing anything about World War III, we need to go into the text which World War III is, that it surrounds. I mean, there's one nation in particular that is the star of this final battle. Well, okay, I'm already giving things away.
Revelation 17.
Hold on a second. Let me see. Is that 17? Getting a little hazy.
Names of blasphemy, 7 heads and 10 horns.
Yes.
All right. From the top?
Yes, from the top, sir.
All right. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 17 and verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, or Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
All right. Good. So I figure we need to go back a little bit. A little blast to the past to a video. We're going to go blast in the past to a video that I did. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wow. This is almost a year old when I did this video. It is what, April 20th, correct? Misha's in the house. Shalom. Getting my stuff situated, taking notes tonight. Yes.
Howdy, Misha.
Yeah, I told everybody this is one of those ones where you're going to want to take some notes. Let's go back into the video I did last year. Now, we're going to skip forward a little bit. I feel like sometimes visual helps a lot. I know I'm a visual person. So reading, yes, it gets me there, but sometimes if I have visual aids, that's the reason why I'm so big on archaeology and things like that, because it can help make the things that you see on the pages jump into reality and make more sense. I'm not saying that that's the only way to do it, but I think that it's very, very helpful, especially in the early stages when a lot of that stuff is confusing in the Bible. Let's see. Is that it? There we go. Yeah, see that guy there? You guys recognize him? Let's go on ahead and make that bigger. I do not agree with the depictions in this first clip, so I just want to make that aware and known. I know there are melanated people in these regions, and they would have been much darker than the depictions which they have in the animation. So keep that in mind. What else was I going to say? And the second video, the professor does a really good job breaking down some of the things. Okay, let's get to that video.
After the flood, and after Noah and his sons and their wives went forth from the ark.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to go back that far. This part, right about this.
Scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth. Tradition says that Nimrod's wife was also his mother and granddaughter of Noah.
I stopped it and wanted to show that because remember last week we were talking about Semiramis. This is that same Semiramis that they're talking about here.
According to various legends, Semiramis.
Okay, then let's speed that up a little bit. This is going into actually this is going into Daniel 7 and 2. Let's skip through some of these things. Now, yes, these gentlemen right here. They actually got into explaining, a couple of the things there. I didn't necessarily agree with everything they say here, but let's continue.
Prophecy Watchers, and I have a question for you. What do you know about Mystery Babylon? Mystery Babylon, what a subject. We have an author, Doug Woodward, with us here today. The book, The Final Babylon. And before we start talking, Doug, I'd just like to say that you are probably way up there in stature when it comes to studies concerning Mystery Babylon the Great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I have spent a lot of time studying these issues and probably, for better or for worse, become associated somewhat with the position that the Babylon of the last days is the United States.
And you just came right out and said it.
I did.
And I have my Bible open to Revelation 18 and verse 10.
And let's stop it right there. Let's follow along with them and let's break this down. He came straight out and said it. That's the reason why I wanted to show it this way so you guys can see an actual scholar who comes to the same deductions that we have come to. Even though we probably disagree on so many other things about what's explained here, I wanted to show you that for most people, most Bible believers, it is pretty much one of the things which has probably the most consensus on that when we are talking about Mystery Babylon, we are talking about the United States of America. Now, I'll let them. You got it to Revelations chapter 18, verse 10. Let me hop there also. Because I'm going to let them go into it a little bit, and then we're going to break it down also. Well, if they don't spell everything out perfectly clear, and it's funny, he started at Revelation 10 in my Bible for some reason. I guess I have it highlighted 6 to 10, so I wanted to go on ahead and read this. Actually, you know what? That's right. Didn't you trying to remember. Did you already read from the top?
17 from the top.
Oh yeah, that's right. 17 from the top. Let's go. Actually, you know what? Let's hold off. Let's hold off where they are and let's go back to 17. And I'm going to stop you and we're going to go in and we're going to break this down bit by bit, piece by piece.
All right.
Sorry, didn't mean to do that. There we go.
So 17 and 7.
No, go ahead. Start from the top.
So 17 and up.
Yeah, 17 and oh no, go ahead. Sorry. 17 and 7.
Okay. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
And what they are talking about here is it talks about that she's riding on a beast, and we'll go into more and more what that's saying, but go ahead and continue. We'll break the beast represents something also. So when you're reading these things, you got to understand that all of these different things are breaking down certain different points, and sometimes it's more intricate within even some of those certain points. So when it just talks about the beast is something which is very complex and expanding. When you read into Daniel, I'm trying to remember, what is it?
7.
7 and 4. I think it's 7 and 2 is is Nebuchadnezzar's dream. I believe 7 and 4 would be the beast, in which I'll go back in that clip, which I did because I one of those clips he goes into that also, and we can go in and give some understanding on that. So go ahead and continue.
Okay. So, the beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and
All
go
right.
in.
Hold on. So it says that this beast was and is. So what that means is this is when it's talking about a beast which has come before. And again, so where were you at? Let's see. Which verse were you at again? Fuzz, which verse were you at?
I was on mute, sorry. Verse 8.
Say, okay. Actually, no, sorry. Go back up. And yeah, go on ahead and read it from 1. That way, because it starts talking about the mystery of it. So yeah, go on ahead from 1 and it'll explain out that.
Revelation 17 and 1. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
And you know how they talk about judgment day? That's what they mean. They're going to show this judgment. They're going to show what is going to happen to, they're going to show what is going to happen to, I don't know, I'm drawing blanks, what it says. On this, basically on what it says, judgment on the great whore that sit upon many waters. Why? I mean, you got to ask yourself, why is it calling it a great whore? What does a whore do? A whore fornicates themselves, and that's why I say themselves, because it can be a man or a woman, with many people, correctly? So that's the reason why this nation is being called a whore. So in order for, and like the gentleman already said, it's America. The reason why America fits this description, because there is no nation which has been in bed with every single nation like the United States has been, whether the nations wanted that interaction or not. That's why this great whore that sits upon many waters, because America has its bases, its outlets all over the place. 2, when it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornications. What that's talking about, being drunk with the wine of her fornications, that is talking about the doctrines which America has forced upon the whole entire world. America had, though the Crusades pushed Christianity, America literally pushed it around the world through their missionaries, through their, people which you have on TV, the televangelists. They have pushed it all over the world. Also, not only just, oh, you want to hop in, Fuzz?
Yeah, can we also include their, throwing democracy?
That's what I was going to say. Everything that has been the tenements of America, their religion, their democracy, their freedom, their entertainment industry. I mean, I think about it. You can go into probably somewhere in Crimea somewhere and have 15 kids out there. Yeah, I think that's mine. Yeah, that's my cricket. Sorry. But you can literally go into any corner of the earth and hear American music. Why is that? You can basically see, even through their TV programs, through their movies, everything is so Americanized. And the reason why that is, let's see if I can turn the mic down a little so it's not picking it up so strong. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, you can still hear me. Hopefully that canceled out the crickets to a degree. But that is part of it through their television. Well, through the television of America, through pretty much everything. Think about it. The space race, NASA, all of these things are it forced all the nations to start doing it. I mean, think about it. Why in places where they have traditional garb or clothing, for instance, in the Middle East even, you literally have people who are wearing business suits instead of their traditional attire. Think about it throughout China, throughout Japan, throughout India. Do some of the people there still wear some of their traditional garb and clothing? Yes, but America has pushed the American style of wearing things. Now, granted, that springs out of Europe, which that's another portion of it. It doesn't disqualify, it adds to explaining who it is when you start reading some of these breakdowns. All right, you can go ahead and continue.
Verse 8.
Oh, no. With 3.
Oh, okay. Revelation 17 and verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast.
All right. That woman, remember we talked about that whore. That woman is America. The woman is Mystery Babylon. The beast is the system that it controls, meaning the 7 continents, which that's the reason why the beast has 7 heads. Now the 10 horns goes into something different, but the 7 heads represent the 7 continents, and that whore, that great whore, is riding upon that beast and controlling. And America, we pretty much all can agree that America is the hegemony of the world, that they control everything. Continue.
Okay, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy.
Let's stop right there. Full of names of blasphemy. We're not going to go into them and start naming them because I'm not trying to shame anybody or tell anybody this or that. But pretty much most of the trends that go on in America, go on throughout the world, a lot of it was pushed through America's belief. Even though they say that they believe in the Bible and God we trust, they literally go against the Bible all the time. Did you guys know that even in the Bible, if you work a job and you're not paid that same day, that is technically a sin. That's a sin. Most of us get paid, what, weekly, bi-weekly? So according to the Bible, that's theft and murder. That's just some of the benign stuff. Remember we talked about dietary laws. America literally pushes for us to eat the things which are against the Torah. In every single way you can think of. I don't know, because a lot of people like to go to specific things which are hot button issues. You don't even have to go that far. There are so many ways which America goes against the Bible, even though it says that it is for the Bible. It wraps itself in the Bible so it can manipulate. Go ahead.
So I want to include a preset to this. And this is America's doctrine that the land is supposedly considered a place where it's has freedom of religion, when the Bible and the Torah, it completely bans and forbids this with the following chapter and verses. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 34, verses 11 through 14. Observe that thou which I command thee this day. Behold, I drive out before thee the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. For context, this is before Israel comes and conquers its own land.
Yeah, this is before they come into the land of Canaan. These were all Canaanite nations, which were pushed out of the land when the Israelites came into the land.
So, moving on. Verse 12. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. 13. But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves. 14. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, and that's what they say. If they say they believe in the Bible, but they say religious freedom, they are kind of being a hypocrite and going against that. So I know a lot of people say that they don't believe in theocracies. Well, if you believe in the Bible, you technically should be believing in a theocracy if you're being honest. But most of those people are not. And also, when it's kind of funny, we talked about Nimrod just recently, when they start talking about those groves. Christmas trees, that ring a bell, anybody? That's the groves it's talking about. When it talks about decking them in silver and gold and taking a tree from outside and bringing it inside and nailing it to the ground or fastening it, that's what that's talking about, because that all goes back to pagan worship of a pagan god, which is Nimrod. So let's continue with 4. I got it, folks. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. Now, I want to stop it at that part, because it talks about this woman being arrayed in purple and scarlet color. Now, a lot of people hear that purple and they start in scarlet and they start thinking about the popes. Like I showed Fuzz once, if you look at an American flag that's been sitting in the sun a long time, it looks like a bluish purple. The American flag is red, white, and blue, correct? What happens? Is blue not a derivative of purple? Are they not? Are purple not a derivative of blue? It falls into that same family. Now, if he's seeing a vision into the future, it's possible that he could have said purple when he meant blue. It's possible that he could have not seen very much different, or it's possible also could have been a mistranslation there. But how I see it is, this purple it's talking about, this is talking about the American flag, this purple and scarlet, because how I see it, blue is a derivative of that. And it talks about being draped in gold and silver. That's the wealth of this nation. Up until not very long ago, we were on what was called the gold standard. That is representing the wealth of this nation. And if you think about it, who actually is the symbol for America? Some people think the flag, but if you think about it, it's Lady Liberty, correct? Lady Liberty. And do you know what she goes back to? She literally goes back to pagan worship also. The goddess Libertad, the goddess of freedom. another pagan god, which goes back through ancient Rome and ancient Greece. So we have made this goddess the symbol of our nation. And then if you think about even just the capital, what is the capital city of America? It's Washington, D.C. What does that D.C. stand for? District of Columbia. Columbia is another name for the goddess Libertad. And then think on the map what you see there. What cities does Washington, D.C. sit right in between? Have you thought about it, Fuzz?
Maryland and Virginia.
Maryland and Virginia. Virgin Maryland. That's where they put this goddess, this pagan goddess, right in what's supposed to be Virgin Maryland. So let's go on ahead and continue. Says having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornications. That, like we told you again, the abominations. I mean, do we really have to spell out a lot of the abominations which America has done? I mean, literally talking about genocide and all of those different things that are going on, which this nation has done to make itself a nation. Sunshine, welcome, welcome, welcome. Says, I'm a newbie. I'm thankful for this teaching. I'm wonderful what's going on there on the left. Wonder what's going on the left side. That smoke and stuff. That is actually, Fuzz, would you like to explain it?
So this is called frankincense. Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, that's burning up right here.
Well, you got to explain to them what is the purpose, why you're burning frankincense and myrrh.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me.
Or if you like, you can explain it to them with the Bible.
That's exactly what I'm looking up. I just forgot which one in Psalms it is.
Okay, so while he finds that, I'll continue a little bit on. When you the next verse, Revelation 17:5, and upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and an abomination of the earth. That abomination is that fornication, which is talking about. Some of that fornication is the illicit practices. And I mean, I don't even think people realize. We think about the genocide. You think about the enslavement. You think about just like some of the stuff I talked about debt. I've talked about in other episodes. Debt, according to the Bible, in the 7th year, you're supposed to give a jubilee to forgive people of those debts. We got people who are still trying to get relieved of their student loans for 30 years. America does not hold to any of the tenets of the Bible in any way. Even the ones that they think they hold to, they don't even hold to it correctly. I'll give you a perfect one. A lot of the religious right likes to talk about abortion. Do you realize that in the Bible, if a woman is thought to have cheated and was impregnated by another man, they actually advise her to drink bitter herbs and things like that, which would lead her to having a miscarriage. That's in the Bible. So when they say, oh, well, you shouldn't have an abortion. Well, in this case, it's telling you to abort. And so nothing is, I won't say nothing, but a lot of things, the way they have it is not clear cut and they don't completely understand it. Marcus has a bomb on his head. Here, I'll let you guys see. Well, I put that up there because talking about World War III, the possibility of nuclear Armageddon is always possible. And as you get into some of the what the Bible tells you, it tells you to expect that. Now, we will get into how this is supposed to kind of come to play. I'm not telling anybody exactly when it's going to happen because it says no man knows the hour. When I say man, I'm talking about being as a whole. So for anybody who gets sensitive and thinking that I'm trying to be dismissive of women, that's not what I'm doing here. So let's continue. Continue with 6, Fuzz.
Okay. Well, I found the Psalms verse.
Oh, go ahead and read that Psalms verse.
So to explain the incense thingy that I constantly have burning here, this is Psalms 141, verse 1 through 2. Lord, I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. So that is why, as we prophesize and as we try to edify, I'm facing the east with my desk, and in prayer, I'm hoping that everybody who would have an ear lends an ear.
And the reason why he's facing to the east, because it tells you that when you pray, you are supposed to face the east. So you are facing towards Israel. Now, of course, if you were, say, west of Israel or whatever, you would have to, pray toward it. You're supposed to pray towards Israel. Let's just leave it at that. Misha says, Marcus, say that again about the abortion, please. I have the volume down. Well, what it tells you is if a woman who is married is impregnated by another man, it tells them that they're supposed to drink a bitter potion, which will induce an abortion. That's literally what it says. Now, there's also other things which says that if you caused a woman to have a miscarriage, then that should be, up to that man what he feels should be done to you. That can deal with a form of corporal punishment all the way up to capital punishment, if you guys get my drift. So hopefully you got that and that makes sense. If you need me to show you whatever, I can go ahead and bring that up. But for time's sake, we'll keep on going on this part because got a lot that I want to show you guys. So let's start back with and it says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of saints. Now, if you went through Catholic school, you will think saints are these random European guys which they felt did something and they got sainted. That is wrong. That is incorrect. The saints, what it says, are Israelites. And so what you have to understand is America or Mystery Babylon has killed a lot of Israelites. Now, if you guys seen some of my older videos, you guys will understand exactly who I'm talking about, the Israelites. But I don't want to get into a long, complex, winding explanation. But that's what I'm talking about. Sunshine says, okay, thank you for explaining. I didn't know that, Fuzz. Yes, and some Israelites, they do it very, very often. So yes, Fuzz does that, so hopefully that we will be blessed in this teaching. So go ahead, Fuzz. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to expand on like the definition of who is the saints, like in the Bible with Psalms 116.
Go on ahead. Good one.
This is Book of Psalms 116, verse 12 through 15. What shall I render unto the Lord for all his benefits towards me? I will take the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. I will pay my vows unto the Lord now in the presence of all his people. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints.
Yes, and in short, the saints are the Israelites. So the Israelites, no matter if they're good or bad, believe it or not, they're still considered the saints. And so this Christian dogma of understanding saints is necessarily people who are good all the time, or this Saint Christopher that he supposedly did something great in London and now they decide to make him a saint. All of that does not go along or match with the Bible at all. Let's continue. So it says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus or Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now, this isn't like a wonder like, oh, that's cool. That's like a puzzling kind of confusion wonder. So yeah, I'll sorry for stepping on your toes. I'll let you get back to reading. I know you love it.
Verse 7. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition.
Now, that beast that was is, they're talking about an ancient, they're talking about the Roman Empire. That is the beast that was. The beast thou sawest was and is not, means that one's not here anymore, and shall ascend out of bottomless pit. For those who have got some of my deeper breakdowns, understanding the pit is the grave. That's what it's talking about. I could go into proof texts, going deeper to explain this, but for time's sake, or if you guys need me to explain this, just remind me to come back to it if we have time towards the end, or just hit me in the DM, or if you're not on Twitter, then find me on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, find me on Instagram. If you're not on any of those, then ask me for my email and I will email it to you. I will email you back and forth, and then we can go in and fully expound. But the bottomless pit, as I teach it and understand it, the bottomless pit is Europe. The reason why is because there have been so much death and destruction which has happened on the continent of Europe, especially for how small it's been. Literally two of the world wars, majority of it was fought in that one area. And so when it says that, it will come out of bottomless pit, that's talking about Europe, and go into perdition. That means it's going to go away again. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. And when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. That's saying that the beast came, because what a lot of people don't realize is there have been multiple Roman empires. This is basically referring to this new beast as a revised version of the Roman Empire. Oh, go ahead.
Did you want to explain that a little bit with chapter 13 and the wound that healed?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. That's a good precept.
Okay. And I stood upon this is Revelations 13, verse 1 through 3. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
Now let's go back through it, and I will try to explain and pick apart so you guys can understand all of the stuff that he just said there. Because he actually said a lot and just explained a whole lot of things which have happened historically. But it's all coded, and I'm gonna help you crack that code. That's why, this older video I did about a year ago, you all should definitely check it out. So going ahead and read that part again. Start at the part with the leopard, or no, right before the leopard.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
Was like unto a leopard. This is talking about the Greek Empire. Greek Empire was literally one of the fastest empires to dominate, become the hegemony in the earth in its time period. Next, or continue.
And his feet were as the feet of a bear.
The feet of a bear. That is going to the Medo-Persian Empire. Continue.
And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
The mouth of a lion. That is talking about Babylon. If you look into archaeology of old Babylon, their symbol literally was the griffin, which is a winged lion. Continue.
And the dragon gave him his power.
And that dragon is the Roman Empire. And what this is explaining is how all of these older powers have transitioned to making this new beast. Think about it. The Babylonian Empire, a lot of the beliefs and religious traditions passed from there to Egypt to all kind of places throughout the early world. And that's where a lot of the so-called paganistic beliefs came from. Just a lot of the names changed once you got to different regions. Then when it starts talking about Greece, what the beast took from Greece was their form of government, the Senate, democracy. That's what they got from Greece. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. What was the other one that it said in there that I'm forgetting?
Leopard, bear, lion, dragon.
Oh, let's see. I said the bear. Oh, lion. If you actually literally look throughout Europe, most of the sigils in most of the royal families is the lion. The reason why they take the lion, because the lion is considered the king of the jungle, right? We all know that. That's about being a hegemony. That's about being on top. That's about domination. So that dragon took on the traits of the power and being the hegemony. It took on the religious ideals of Medo-Persian Empire, which passed throughout all of these different empires, and the speed that it was able to conquer, and the democracy. All of those things went into that dragon, which that dragon became the Roman Empire. When it talks about that wound, a lot of people don't realize you had an initial Roman Empire, then you had the fall of the Roman Empire, which that became the Holy Roman Empire, which it came back under Catholicism. That's when all of you had Italy and Spain and Britain and Germany, and that's how Christianity spread across all of Europe through the Holy Roman Empire. The initial Roman Empire had various different religious beliefs. And that's where you had a lot more of the persecution that happened in that earlier Roman Empire due to some of these religions starting to come in. Later on, you still had a lot more of that too for anybody who didn't want to accept Catholicism or Christianity. But once that went down, the revising of that empire is the new Roman Empire or beast system. So that's what that's talking about. Continue. Or were you done with that precept?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. So let's hop back into where was I?
You want to move on to the woes?
Not quite yet. Oh, that's right. I was at 9. This is talking about and here in the mind which hath wisdom, the 7 heads are 7 mountains. And they will tell you if you look it up over and over and over, it starts explaining to you hills and mountains are allegories for nations, kingdoms. And granted, we don't have very many kingdoms anymore, but if you have a president, that's a form of a kingdom because the people think about it like, oh, well, a king just always has all the rule. Even if you guys watch any kind of like show, documentary or history, even though you had a king, they always had advisors. They always, well, what should we do? Should we do this? Should we do that? Any kingdom which lasted for any length of time, the king didn't just do whatever he wanted to all the time. And also, when kings did that, they didn't stay king very long. So, and it says the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So it's letting you know that those 7 mountains, those 7 kingdoms, this woman, Mystery Babylon, sits on top of them, being the hegemony, being the ruler, being in charge of them. 10, and there are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other is yet to come. And so I can stop there. This is going back into John's time. So it can start throwing people off because you got to understand, we're talking about roughly, I want to say about the 5th century when this is going on. So you got to understand which empires were around at the time, which nations had become nations which hadn't yet. So let's hop back, or let's go on ahead and hop over to 18:1.
This is Revelations chapter 18 and verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
All right, we'll stop it there. What that is telling you is it has fallen. It's telling you it's fallen. At this point, it's telling you Babylon has faced that fate. That's what it's telling you. Now, there's more that goes into and explains how all of this comes about, but let's hop into this video a little bit, because remember, he was at I guess, we'll read briefly down so you guys can get a little bit of where they start at in this video. So Fuzz, I would like for you to start at 5, Revelations 18 and 5.
For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled to her fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
And what that's saying is this nation is saying, I haven't lost. I can't lose. Nobody's ever defeated me, and nobody will defeat me. That's what that nation is saying. And that nation has put out much sorrow and anguish and pain and misery on many others and hasn't relished it back. Because how all this works, if you guys see throughout history, I mean, a little time lapse. The original Babylon, that Babylon fell. Not completely, but it fell. they were rewarded with destruction by the Assyrians. The Assyrians were taken out by the Egyptians. The Egyptians got taken out by the rise of the next Babylonian, Medo-Persian, and Babylonian empires. They took them down. That empire got taken down by the Greek Empire. The Greeks got taken down by the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire got taken down by America. And so every nation which they have their time to run and do things, they face that same fate of those nations which they have taken down. So continue.
Damn, I had a pastor, a precept that I had just came across in Isaiah. And dang, I lost it. That would have fitted perfectly with this. For the sake of time, let's keep going. Verse 9, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her.
It means they're going to be sad when they see this day happen. They all going to be boo-hooing big time.
When they shall see the smoke of her burning. Verse 10.
When they see the smoke of her burning.
Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
Now, the reason why I use that in particular, they said in 1 hour this judgment is going to come. Can you pull Zechariah 14 and 12 for me, sir?
Let me find that. That was Zechariah 14 and
12.
Book of Zechariah.
Now, I want you, before he reads this, I want you guys to keep in mind, if this is talking about if this is in the past, because Zechariah, this is in the Old Testament. If this is some stuff that happened way back when, tell me what did they have that was capable of doing this? Go ahead.
Book of Zechariah, chapter 14 and verse 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth.
So literally, this says that while people are still standing, their skin is going to be burned off and their eyes and tongues are going to melt in their sockets. I don't know what kind of weapon that they had back in the ancient days that could have done that, but I can think of one in modern day that can do that. I'm just saying. So let's go ahead and hop back to, oh yeah, that's right. Chemical warfare. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Sunshine. You know what it's about. So let's go ahead and hop back to this clip and listen to them. They're gonna go. Actually, yeah, Fuzz, you stopped off at, no, that's right. You did read 10. So let's let them go into it and let's let them break it down and see. Because I've had this understanding back to when I was maybe 12, 13 years old. So we're talking about close to 30 years that I've had this same understanding of what this is talking about here. So we'll let them read it also.
We read about the kings of the earth standing far off for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And I just wanted to read that.
Now think about that. It literally said the judgment's gonna come in 1 hour. We all know what could destroy a whole nation in 1 hour.
Set the tone for this discussion, because that's just one aspect of the Babylon question.
There are so many. To begin, we could talk about the fact that throughout the Bible, Babylon represents or is a symbol of opposition to God. There's the
Yes.
city of God, and then there's the city of Babylon. Now, of course, modern theology would have us believe that that's all she is, that Babylon does not actually represent a future, we'll call it an instance of a city that is a real space-time city that is destroyed in the last days. I think that there are sort of three phases of Babylon: the daughter of Babylon, Mystery Babylon, and Babylon the Great. And the United States, I believe, is associated primarily with.
Which I had to stop this because this is where I have to push back on his understanding. The daughter of Babylon is addressed more as a land than a city. An alliance of nations from the north destroys. No. What you don't get is the these are all talking about the same thing. Mystery, the daughter of Babylon, Mystery Babylon, Babylon the Great. They're all the same thing. There have been three different Babylons. The ancient Babylon, which if you look it up in secular history, that is the Sumerians. The Babylonian Empire rose again with the nation of Cush. The Cushites ruled Babylon for a time period also. Well, kind of coming back into power. But Babylon has always been a place where it's been a mixture of different people. In these two Babylons, you had the Cushite nations, which ruled it, but there was still a mixture of, and the ancient Babylon, the correlations to American Mystery Babylon is they're all trying to, in Mystery Babylon, it was one of the big issues was everybody speaking the same language. Do they not try to push for everybody to speak English here? They push, everybody can believe whatever they want to believe. And it's a place of multiple different people coming from many different walks of, coming from many different nations. All of those things are tenements of the early Babylon and the mixture of a lot of pagan beliefs and religions. That echoes America, but I'll let him continue in his breakdown.
The daughter of Babylon that's talked about in the Old Testament prophets, particularly Jeremiah.
Yes.
And Jeremiah had prophesied that the captivity of Babylon, which was really related to Judah, would last 70 years. And Daniel, reading Jeremiah.
And what you got to understand when you really start reading these things and understand it, you'll understand that some of these prophecies are dual-fold prophecies, sometimes multifold. For instance, when it talks about that the Israelites will go into captivity, Israelites went into, under my count, about 7 different captivities. Now, when it spoke about captivity in Babylon for 70 years, that is specifically talking about the Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar. That Babylon in the time of Daniel. But how you know that it's a dual prophecy is, did everything happen that it says was supposed to happen to Babylon? No. Only some things happened. And so that's how you separate between, this is talking about a certain time. This might be talking about another time. This prophecy is not only talking about this instance that we're thinking of during the time of Daniel. So let's continue.
Jeremiah saw that the prophecy was soon to be fulfilled, and he began to pray that God would be true to his word and that captivity would end. And then in 538, without firing a shot, the Medes and Persians came in at Belshazzar's feast and took control of the city of Babylon and ended the Babylonian, what's known as the Neo-Babylonian Empire, and began the empire of the Medes and the Persians.
And so Babylon faded away.
And so that part you can see actually in secular history that happened, backing up what it says in the Bible. Oh, Fuzz, did you want to say something?
I wanted to see if you wanted to include an example of dual fulfillment with Numbers 24 and 17, referring to.
No, we can hold that one. I know what you're talking about.
All right.
That's honestly, that's the one which I go to whenever somebody tells me the Old Testament is done away with. Actually, you know what? Just since we brought it up, so the crowd in the audience knows what we're talking about, going ahead and read Numbers 24:17.
I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth.
So whenever you have somebody in Christianity tell you that the Old Testament is over, Numbers, where is Numbers at in the Bible, Fuzz?
Book number 4 out of 5 of the Torah.
Book number 4 out of 5 of the Torah. If you're most Christians only read 66 chapters of the Bible. So what you're saying is that's the 4th book out of 66. If you read what I have here, it's the King James 1611. This has 80 books in it because it has the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha having 80 books means that what they're talking about is in the 4th book out of 80. Yes, that's a standalone Apocrypha right there. What happened is some of the people in Europe decided that they wanted to take certain parts out of the Bible, which, what does it say, Fuzz, about taking away from the Bible?
It's a sin.
Yeah, in fact, let me see. I think it's 22. 22 and here. Hold on a second. Yes, Revelations chapter 22, and I'll start with 18. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecies of this book. If any man shall add unto these, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in the book. 19. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of these prophecies, God shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city from which things which written in this book. So these early people literally were taking out of the book of the Bible.
And we can have a precept to that with Deuteronomy 4 and 2. Ye shall not,
or Proverbs 30 and 6 also.
Deuteronomy 4, chapter 4 and verse 2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you.
And bring up Proverbs 30 and 6.
Proverbs. All right. Book of Proverbs, chapter 30 and verse 6. Add thou not unto his words, lest ye reprove thee, and thou be found a liar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sunshine, I do recommend to get a 1611. Are there things which I can show you that are problems in here? Yes, of course. And that goes into a lot of times the translators. Because think about it. I'm not sure if you speak any other languages or not, but Think about if you're translating for somebody. You might say something a certain way, which if somebody else was translating, they're going to say it a little bit differently. And part of translation, part of that is interpretation yourself. So you might interpret that. I might interpret Fuzz as trying to say something one way. And so I might say it and add more of not only what he's saying, but what he means also, where somebody else might translate literally, okay, this is word for word what he said. Does that make sense? Here, I guess I'll give a better example. If I know somebody is really upset about something, if they say, do not take my drink out of the refrigerator, but they say it like this: don't take my drink out of the refrigerator. Now, if I've seen them beat the hell out of the last 10 people in a row that took that drink out of the fridge, but they say it mild like that, I know that when they're saying that, it has a seriousness to it versus somebody else who hears that and they're just like, well, they said it. I don't really get the threat behind it. And so that's what I mean. If you have people who understand it, they can give a better translation to what's being said. Glad you're with me, Sunshine. So let's go back to, oh yeah, I think they had a little bit more that he wanted to say, because he's going to explain and help prove and confirm our point in a couple of different ways. And then we'll get to Revelation 8. Okay, go to chapter 8.
Only in a physical way, because the whole idea of Babylon, the spiritual idea of Babylon, lived on.
It did. And this is one of the areas of great confusion, because when you look at the prophecies about the daughter of Babylon in Jeremiah 50 and 51, it speaks of Babylon being devastated. And it talks about it being laid waste, such that no one will be able to inhabit it. Well, that's not what happened historically with the old Babylon. It, in fact, even after it was taken over by the Medes and Persians, eventually Alexander the Great conquered them, and he made Babylon his capital city. So it was still very much inhabitable at that time. So the question is, what Babylon are we talking about? What Babylon is Jeremiah talking about?
Mm-hmm. Now, let's really get down to what Babylon.
So Jeremiah was talking about a Babylon that's going to be eviscerated and destroyed. And so he could have only been talking about a future Babylon, because what his prophecy says does not fit anything that happened to the old Babylons. Just like they said, the Greeks came in, like we said before, the Persians that came in, all these different people took over that area. And that's part of what the hegemonies of the earth often do. They go in and conquer. If they don't conquer and completely subdue an area, they turn it into a vassal state. What's the translation to a vassal state in today's day? Fuzz, can you name some modern day vassal states?
Let's see. There.
Can you name one? You name one.
Britain.
I'll give you a perfect example of a vassal state. Have you guys heard of commonwealths? Any place that's a commonwealth is a vassal state. Puerto Rico is a vassal state. The Philippines, Guam, all of these people are vassal states. Taiwan, Hong Kong, vassal states. Palestine, the Gaza Strip, all of those are vassal states. What was going on with apartheid in South Africa? Vassal state. When the Europeans, or the French, perfect example, when they owned Haiti, vassal state. And so that's what these nations would do. Hegemonies, the major hegemonies, will come in and take over and dominate. So
Babylon is.
It's a little bit more.
America Babylon, for example, which is deeply discussed. Is Europe a Babylon? Remember the 10 nation common market?
Indeed.
A lot of people thought this is.
He just said it. The 10 nations common market. Do you know? And he talked about Europe. Those 10 horns would be the 10 nations which came out of the Roman Empire that became modern day major European countries. Now, I know they've split apart. Great Britain has turned into, or the UK has turned into, Britain. It's turned into Scotland, Ireland. That's 3 different nations right there. But they came out of one. You have Ukraine, you have Crimea, you have all these places that all came out of Russia being one place. You have all of these different nations in general in Europe. For instance, in Germany, how many countries have come out of Germany?
Hundreds from when the Holy Roman Empire dissolved.
Germany was a much larger place at one point in time. Much, much larger. And so when you start putting them back into their mother countries, it comes up to roughly 10 European nations. Now, in this video, I go into it and break it down somewhere in there, but for time's sake, we'll just keep on going right now. I recommend, please go back and watch this video. Who is Mystery Babylon? I guess I put 1. I was planning on doing part 2, which I will be doing the part 2. I guess, yeah, I should probably do a part 2 of that sometime soon. And I'll probably do it in clips and videos like that too. Or I don't know, I might just do it in a lesson. I'll talk to Fuzz and we'll see what we can figure out.
Babylon, Mystery Babylon come to life at last. Of course, that went away. And people are still talking about it. But why is it important to locate Babylon geographically as the Bible does in the latter days?
Well, I think it's because there are several factors. Certainly, there are very specific prophecies talking about destruction of Babylon.
Yeah.
And so I believe that there are many prophecies that repeat again and again and again that this nation shall be destroyed. Well, if we are that nation, that might concern us just a bit.
It might concern us a lot.
Yes.
And some people have come right out and said it. America is Mystery Babylon the Great, the one that's described in Revelation. I just read the verse concerning a lot of spectators watching the death of Babylon.
Right. Yeah, there are really in today's amongst us futurists that believe that there are prophecies yet to be fulfilled. There really are sort of 3 views about Babylon. There is the view that I hold, the daughter of Babylon relates to not just America, but sort of the Anglo-America Empire.
Did you hear what he said there? Anglo-American Empire. Meaning he doesn't only think it's America. He thinks that it has to do with Western nations in general. Now, I hold to that Mystery Babylon is America specifically. That does not mean that some of these Western nations will not face a judgment also for some of the things they've done. But, I guess we can leave that there for the time being. Yeah, if you guys want to go check more and more into that video, I do recommend it. It's a lot of good stuff in there. A lot of good teaching. So, Fuzz, what did I have you grab? What you got there, sir?
Revelations 8 and 13.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpets of the 3 angels, which are yet to sound.
Can you explain to the people what woe means in the Bible? Actually, hold on. Let's see. Sunshine. I'm going to ask this to Sunshine first. I think Misha might know. Which one of you two get it first? What does woe mean in the Bible? Guess I'll give it, give it a little bit of time. No rush, right? If you guys know, let me know. If you're not sure, say, Marcus, I don't know. You don't have to explain that to me. What does woe mean in the Bible? And we got to remember some of these other Bible translations, it'll be a little bit more clearly, but in the Old English, it gets a little funkier, the way some things are said in here. So if you don't understand Old English very well, you might want to pull up a Bible concordance. Ding, ding, ding. Misha is correct. Woe means destruction. And so, can you repeat that last verse for us, Fuzz?
Woe, woe. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the mists of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpets of the three angels, which are yet to sound.
Continue.
Chapter 9 and verse 1. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven onto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were, as it were, crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions.
Yeah, this is a deep breakdown. So, I'll break this down another time for you guys. I broke all this down for Fuzz, and it kind of had his mind a little blown because I like to do it and show all the images and things like that to be able to prove and back up everything I'm saying, so a little bit clear. I want you to jump to Revelation 20.
Chapter
Yeah.
20?
Yes, sir. Let me see where I want you to go. I don't want to get too deep on some of this stuff quite yet. I want this foundation to get strong so at least people know what's coming. And then we can start explaining the details of it and the things to look forward to. I know, 2 weeks ago, we did the Mark of the Beast, and that is stuff that you will have to, that's stuff that will come to pass before this happens. And so all the censorship that we're seeing, the cashless societies, all of these things are leading to the Mark of the Beast. I know a lot of people thought that it was a lot of people thought it was that's not the Mark of the Beast, but it's coming. Because think about it. Where does it tell you that the Mark of the Beast should be applied? The Mark of the Beast will be in your right hand. And technically, it's not only the right hand. Because there's other scriptures I could show you that says hands. But and so it says the right hand or in the forehead is where the mark of the beast will go. And you will not be able to buy or sell without it. So that is something we need to be looking forward to. It also talks about um actually, what was it? Pull up Wars and Rumors of War. That's what I want. Should be like Wars and Rumors of Wars and Earthquakes and other earthquakes. Yeah, pull that one up so I can have it exactly verbatim.
Well, all right. Let me jump over to Matthew.
Yeah, I'll hold 20.
All right. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Yeah, I wanted to pull that up because even when World War III happens, even when Mystery Babylon is struck, that is not the end yet. Because a lot of people think nuclear war means everybody's just going to blow up everybody and that's how it's going to happen. Not necessarily. Wesley, how are we doing? It says get a 300 Bible and learn Greek and Hebrew. I actually do go into the Greek and Hebrew quite a bit to prove my texts and make sure that I'm accurate on what I am reading. So yes, I do. Wesley has very good advice there. I do advise that everybody actually go into the Greek and Hebrew. If you don't speak fluent Greek or Hebrew, which I don't speak Hebrew, or it's definitely not fluid. I might know some words in Paleo Hebrew, a couple of phrases here and there, but I do know a little bit of Greek, and it helped from my time in the military, which I never thought that it would actually come back around, but the New Testament is basically written in Greek. I believe it was originally in Hebrew and translated into the Greek. And actually, there's historians. I'm trying to remember Herodotus, which testifies to that. That's what I wanted to show you guys. For those who do not speak Greek or Hebrew, I'm gonna put this on my screen so you all can see what I'm pulling up and how to find this. This is a great study tool that all of you all who are trying to learn the Bible should definitely use. All right, so I'm going to search it so you guys can see it right here. Blue Letter Bible. Click on it. Dismiss. Now, you can pull up your version. King James Bible, New King James Bible. Was it
NLT?
Yeah, ESV. You can go through all kind of different texts, but for right now, we will just stay on King James Bible. Let's go into, as you guys can see, if you've went into stuff before, it keeps some of your search results in here. So to help you be able to quick nav and find the stuff. I'll give you an example. Right now, I am in Revelations 20. So I will pull this up. Pull this up so you guys can see what it does. For instance, you go over here, you can click Tools. You can go here and look up these words.
Strong's G 2532, Chi.
Letting you understand what these words are, how they're said in the Greek. If you want to try to find them in the Hebrew, it has the Strong's Concordance right here. And you have the different pronunciations. And it will give you multiple conjunctions on how the word is used, how many times it's used certain ways, and definitions to understand this. And say you don't like the Strongs. Okay, that's fine. You keep scrolling down. You can use other concordances. How did I get into Matthew? Oh, that's what I was looking for. Oh, that's why it was showing other, like right down here at the bottom. It's showing you all the uses of that said word that I just pulled up. So let's back out of that. Let's go back to 20. So, see, what did I want? 20 and 8, I think. Yes. Going ahead and read Revelation 20, verse 8, sir.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
All right, so we have Blue Letter Bible up. Yes, a lot of things, a lot of editing took place in the early years. Some of these things became canon, others did not. A lot of the things which they took out, hey, Mona, a lot of those things that they took out actually came a little bit later. A lot of people like to go, they like to say, well, Council of Nicaea, Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea is actually where they were arguing basically the divinity of Christ. But yes, we're discussing Bible prophecy. But the council of, I'm getting tongue-tied, sorry. The Council of Carthage in North Africa is when they actually decided the canon of the Bible and what was going to go in and what didn't go in. That's the reason why you'll hear certain people say, well, why come you don't read from the Gospel of Judas or the Gospel of Thomas or the book of Jasher? You know, some of these books, because what we'll do is I and many of the teachers I had go back and try to see how much of the original manuscripts do they actually have, how when did these come on the scenes, and do a lot of trying to study and vet the text before we just automatically start teaching it. And if I see things in some of these other texts which contradict the Bible or the Torah, I completely reject those texts. Like, for instance, the book of Jasher, it says some things, and some things kind of make a little sense and line up, but some things don't make sense. For instance, it talks about Nimrod, and Nimrod is killed by Esau, who is Jacob's brother, or Jacob, his name was changed to Israel, and he becomes the father of the 12 tribes. Esau would be basically the evil twin, and he started his own nation also. Now, here's what we have to understand: chronological order. Nimrod is the grandson of Noah, like grandson. How many generations that would have went past before Esau was alive? That would have mean Nimrod would have had to live like 500 years for that to even be possible. It would also throw off the trajectory and the timeline of everything else that it said was supposed to happen, if it was possible that he was alive that long. Because the nation of Egypt was not a nation when Nimrod was on the earth. None of these were. And so how can somebody who's born hundreds of years later, after it's already been talked about this person being dead, but it also says in the Bible that Shem is the one who dealt with him. So there's no way Esau could have killed him. I think your screen is frozen, Fuzz, actually.
Testing. Better?
I think it's still, yeah, I think you're still froze. Actually, try going out and coming back in. Nimrod, the mighty hunter before God. Exactly. Um, is that a yes, it does say that. If you want me to explain what that means, then let me know. I'm not sure if that's a question or if it's a statement, but I can explain what that means. Wesley says there are genealogical contradictions in the canon King James. Yes, I know which ones you're talking about. When you start talking about Luke and between Luke and Matthew, there are certain events which, yeah, you're good now, which it explains that didn't line up. Wasn't Methuselah like 900 years old or something? Yes, but that's what it says biblically. But he still lines up the within the pericope or within the timeline of how it says things were supposed to have went. Now, do I know for a fact that he was 900 years old? I don't know. I don't know if that could have been a misinterpretation or what. But on those areas where I can't confirm or deny, I normally don't put my foot down and really argue hard on those. Just the ones where it's definitely has to do with edification and actually helping you learn critical things. But on the important stuff, I try to always land down one way or another. But I mean, it's not going to hurt us if we're wrong on if Methuselah was 900 years old, 1,000 years old, 100 years old. The reason why I kind of would think that that's incorrect because it talks about the lifespan being 120 years often in the Bible. So I'd imagine anybody who's roughly 120, because if you think about it, most people don't live much longer than that. I mean, there's rare cases where you hear somebody's like 130, but you don't hear of anybody going past that statement. Nimrod did evil. Yes, Nimrod did evil. Nimrod did a lot of things evil. And that's one thing where I'll give the Book of Jasher some accuracies on some of the stuff. I think they're correct in some of that stuff there. Just like in every lie, you got to have a little bit of truth, correct? I mean, in every joke, there's a little bit of truth, correct? So is everything that they say in there correct? No. But I think some of the stuff that they do allude to about Nimrod might be actually correct on some things. Now, do I believe in the half man, half goat stuff in there and mermaids and all that stuff that in the Book of Jasher? No, absolutely not. But when it talks about some of the pagan traditions, you can see the Bible alluding to some of the stuff without saying it specifically, like, for instance, the Christmas trees, the groves, things like that. When it talks about Baal, and it talks about them sacrificing their babies to Moloch, all of those things track with stuff in the Bible. So on those things, I stick with it. But let me pull that back up, Revelations 20 and 8, because we just read about Magog, correct?
Mhm.
In that blue letter Bible. Let's see if it can tell us in the blue letter Bible who they say Magog is. So you guys aren't just taking my word, which this nation who calls himself Magog actually in secular world calls themselves Magog still. Okay. Let's go into Magog. It starts a foreign nation. Let's see if it gives any explanation. Okay, so in the Strongs, it doesn't give anything. So doesn't say directly what it is. But if you look into the table of nations, it tells you where Magog's land would be. So let me pull this up. And in fact, you can just Google search it. let's pull up. That's not the one I want. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Let's pull it up in Wikipedia. I know Wikipedia is not the greatest, but I can't remember my actual I can't remember where I used to find this at. But in short, if you look at the map of where it says Gog and Magog, or Gog is the ruler. So whoever the ruler is of Magog, that's that's what they're talking about, Gog and Magog. But let me see if I can actually find it. But it literally tells you that Magog is Russia. Try to see if I can find a better source.
Would you count Josephus's Antiquity of the Jews and
Okay.
his breakdown of the nations, like as
Yeah.
a part of a source to use that?
Yes, I do. I do take that that part of Josephus being a credible source. Oh, wait a minute. What does this say? Get off my screen. Okay, Bible, just a regular Bible. Dr. Roger Barrier. Not sure who he is, but I'm sure Christian professor. Says that. Or is it third? I have used modern names for the territories involved. When we're talking about Gog and Magog, we're talking about a leader in the land of Russia. Know that 500 years from now, if Christ delays, Gog or Magog from north, Russia will have another name that fits another time. So a lot of people, even in secular terms, they still know of Russia as Magog. That's the landmass, which yeah, I don't know what that. Maybe I need to learn Russian too. But did you have a source you want to pull up, or just want to read it?
Yeah, just give me 1 second to actually pull it up.
Man, in my phone I had it saved the site where it goes into it. Even in Haaretz. Are you guys familiar with Haaretz? I subscribe to them quite often. It's not only Christians fans of Armageddon are buzzing, according to one rabbi, Vilna Gaon himself predicts that when Russia, which Gog is the person who rules over the land of Magog, let's see. Yeah, so in many texts, Persia officially named the country called Rome not once. Past 20 years, has Russia formed. So if you look up, actually, that's probably why. Just put in Magog. Magog today.
Okay, I found it.
What did you find, sir?
All right. Let me see. One last tab. Okay. So let's start off with Book of First Chronicles, chapter 1, 4 through 6. Well, 4 through 5.
Okay.
The sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Mm-hmm.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Madai and Javan, Tubal and Meshech, Tiras. All right. Now this is Flavius Josephus's Antiquity of the Jews, Book 1, Chapter 6. How every nation was denominated from their first inhabitants. For Gomer founded those whom the Greeks now call Galatians, but were then called Gomerites. Magog founded those that from him were named Magogites, but who are by the Greeks called Scythians.
Which the Scythians became Russians.
This, if you look up in Encyclopedia Britannica, Scythian, also called
Scythian.
Scythian, also called Scyth, Saka, and Sake, member of a nomadic people, originally of Iranian stock, known from as early as the 9th century BCE, who migrated westward from Central Asia to southern Russia and Ukraine in the 8th and 7th centuries BCE.
Well, let's see. Knowledge with certainty says a good prophecy must be able to fulfill 6 points. First, it must be able to fail. I don't know. That's kind of a weird first one to start off with. But second, it must not be self-fulfilling. Third, the coming of this prophecy should be verifiable. Fourth, the prophecy must be proven to have made before it came to pass. Check on that. Fifth, the prophecy should contain a few symbolic elements as possible and be clear. Sixth, the supposed prophecy must be clearly unidentifiable. I don't know where did these rules come from? That's kind of some odd vagueness, extra vagueness as a future prediction. There are hardly any prophecy. Oh, of course you're. So where do I find World War II in the Bible? Well, I don't want to dispute. I don't want to go this, but actually, Revelations 9. That's where I find it in the Bible. But you sound like somebody who's very doubtful of the Bible just in general. So I will not spend a lot of time going into that, especially since I'm ending the end of my lesson. So you do have one that happens already. You have two that's already happened already. But if you don't understand the Bible well enough to know what it's saying and the codes which it's using, you wouldn't understand it. So if you understand Genesis 10, which the book of Genesis was written literally, I don't know how many thousands of years ago. It laid out Table of Nations. So these land masses were called this for literally thousands of years. So I guess it's always good to have a skeptic in here. That's always fun. But it's talked about the four carpenters, which we can go into that in another time. Trying to remember what else did we want to go into with that? Did you have any more?
No, that's about it.
Okay, but yeah, I wanted to keep it limited for this one and not go too in depth because there are so many other verses I could go into talking about Gog and Magog and talking about let me see. I think it was one more. Let me see in my notes. Was it something I wanted to go into? Yeah, I think it was Revelations 28 and that I read, and shall go out and deceive the nation which are in the four quarters of the earth. And oh yeah, by the way, in Revelations 20, at this time period, they didn't even know it was a fourth part of the earth. So I guess you'd have to explain that part there. So if they were predicting four parts of the earth, and most people only know about three, have to explain that. Says Gog and Magog to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sands of the sea. And doesn't it mention the fall of an empire? That's definitely the U.S. Well, that's talking about mystery. I guess Mona might have missed that. Go back to Mystery Babylon is fallen. So that would be Revelation. Was it 18?
18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to 18.
Book of Revelations, chapter 18 and verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
Yeah. Who does that sound like? Because we got to keep in mind, any of these other nations, when the Roman Empire was still a power in the earth, Roman Empire hadn't started coming over here to the Americas. They didn't know about the Americas. Had a feeling that was coming. Roman Empire did not know about the Americas. That's one thing. So if the Roman Empire didn't know about the Americas, none of the other empires before. So whichever empire that's talking about has to be an empire that knew about all 7 continents. And they had to have interaction with all 7 continents and be a hegemony in the earth and literally push its ideas, its wealth, its philosophies, everything about itself to the 4 corners of the earth, all of it. Only one nation fits that description and has held that power. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember the verse, the little horn? I figured I wanted to pull this up real quick. That person, they made me think about that verse.
It's little horn.
Some Revelations. I'm gonna try to find it. I'll find it. Okay. It's Daniel, which Daniel ties in with a lot of end time prophecy. Wow. I guess I was studying this lately or rereading it for some reason because my Bible is on Daniel 7 and 8. Here it is.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Just for context, we're going to go ahead and read. We're going to read from the top. So going ahead and start with Daniel 7 and 1.
Okay. The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and, behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse.
Now, second first. This part, like what they talked about prophecy, this right here, Daniel was saying this when the first of these empires was an empire. So somehow he had to have known what was going to happen after that next empire, and then even after that empire. So they've been able to carbon date, which I don't have a lot of faith in carbon dating. I mean, on most things, but just the fact of just the written record of when they found these original scrolls literally date back far enough that they can say with a certainty that this happened before at least 2 of these empires even rose. when they found these. And at this point, they were dating them to the BC time period. So, going ahead and continue. We've got these 4 beasts. And I guess we'll finish. We'll read this part in here. So continue.
The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
Lion with eagle wings. Let me show you, because that's what I'll do. I will pull this up and show you what I'm talking about. How much? Hold on 1 second. Give me a second. Images. Let's do an image search. Oh, well, help if I spell things correctly. Now, all right, let me share screen and put this up. Actually, can you all see that? Now, can you read what that verse said again?
The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
Lion with eagle's wings. Do you guys all see that? Lion with eagle's wings. Sometimes it has Nebuchadnezzar's face on that lion, but these date back to a very, very, very long time ago. So there's archaeology to match with this said griffin. Okay. The next one. Go on ahead.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth.
So
And
when it was plucked, when it was defeated. Okay, continue.
And it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise,
Okay.
devour much flesh.
Close, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hold on. Yeah, hold on a second. Go back to the. If you look into history, you look into Persia. Persia has a bears galore. In that part of the world, there's not a lot of places which has bears, but Persia has bears. That's what this is talking about. When it talks about the so go back up, read it again.
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side.
And hold on a second. This goes back to the Medo-Persian Empire. Yeah, Media and Persia. At that time, they were equal. What happened is the Media fell, and Babylon took over completely. Or not? Persia took over completely. That's what I meant. When Persia took over completely, all was left were 3 of the major towns of Media, which got absorbed into Persia. This stuff is historical. That can be shown and proven. Continue.
And okay. And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
And it did that. It literally took every nation which was in the Levant and basically enslaved them or made them a vassal state. Continue.
Verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
All right, so there, a leopard is fast. Is a very, very fast animal. Hey, I do too, Mona. Mona says, I like the way Fuzz reads. Um, it was fast, and what the reason why they use that to signify this next beast and this next empire is because the Greek Empire was literally one of the fastest ever empires to rise and conquer most of the known world. They literally conquered most of the known world within 12 years. No other nation has done that ever. The 4 wings of the fowl that it's talking about is after Alexander died. What happened is it split into 4 different regions. That's when you start having the Seleucids, and you start talking about the Ptolemaic, and you start talking about these different rulerships within the Greek Empire. When they split into these 4, they started warring against each other, and through that, it led to the fall. It led to the start of the Greco-Roman Empire. That Greco-Roman Empire led to the demise of the Greek Empire and its power. Continue.
Okay. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Dominion given to these 4 heads. I mean, these nations all were basically the superpowers of their day, the hegemonies of their day, just like America is the superpower and hegemony of its day. Continue.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and
That's the Roman Empire. Continue.
And strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stabbed to the residue with the feet of it.
And most people wouldn't know this, but believe it or not, when it talks about the iron teeth, that literally was when iron actually became a major facet of what people were using. It also ties to Daniel's other prophecy when he talks about the Nebuchadnezzar statue. The head starts off of gold. That's Babylon. It goes down to the chest of silver, being a lesser metal, a lesser kingdom. That is the Medo-Persian Empire. It gets down to the legs. It says brass in a lot of interpretations, but it actually is supposed to say copper. Copper is a lesser metal than that. And then it gets to iron, just like it's saying here with these iron teeth. The Roman Empire, it literally, one of the things which set it apart from all these other ones because of how massive, how vicious, and how powerful its military might was. That's why it says exceedingly strong because of its military presence and power. Now, the revised Roman Empire took all of these traits. America was it's the youngest nation. It rose to power faster than all of these, rose to the hegemony, and it's held it stronger and faster than any of these other peers, as in, European nations, African nations of modern day. It also took on the philosophies of most of its predecessor empires, and it took on literally the same governments. The Senate, Congress, all of that goes back to Greece, and then eventually Rome. So that's it for that part. I'll leave it there. Getting a little late, longer than I guess we're at 2 hours. I figure 2 hours is the max I want to get at, so that these classes don't get so long that people see the timestamp on it and say, "Ugh, I'm not going back to watch that." So I will say it again. Please go back and look at Mystery that first video, Mystery Babylon. There's so much good stuff in there. There's so much that I plan on bringing out and studying. Sunshine, if you say you're eager to learn, you enjoy the broadcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Glad to have you here. One thing that me and Fuzz we try to do is any questions that you all have, please feel free to ask us any question, no matter what. Any Bible question you have, ask it. If it's something that you forget to ask, then please yes, it's on this same channel. If it is something that you forget to ask, put it in the comments section. I come back and I check the view counts. I check to see if there's any comments. I check that stuff, and so
Same.
I will respond. Fuzz will respond also. And if Twitter does some silly stuff like it tries to hide it or whatever, if you guys follow us on Twitter, hit us up there. Worst case scenario, you guys can always hit me up in Discord. Also, I'm not on there that often these days, but I do check it on occasion. And just like I said, you guys can look up Marcus Cage and find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, any platforms that you need to. And if you guys need, if you're not on any of those and you absolutely definitely want to get in contact with me, then let me know. I will put my email out there. You guys could be able to write me and then ask me any questions you have. Mona asks, do you do these the same days weekly? Normally we do these on Thursdays, but tomorrow I will be on with Extra Bulla, me, Chris, and Steve Poikinen. We'll be on there. We'll probably do a little bit of it on YouTube, but then I know that we're gonna have to go to Rockfin to really talk candidly. And some of these so-called conspiracy theory stuff ties in with biblical prophecy and the way I understand things, and so I will drop into that. I know this Sunday I'm gonna try to see if Fuzz is available, and I and Chris will be talking more Bible lessons on oh nice not Steve. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, just watch us then. But on Sunday we will be on Doom and Gloom podcast with Sebs and Ali, and we will be talking more biblical prophecy. So yes, on Sunday I'll make sure that I tweet it out and everything. I can't remember the time exactly, but yeah, we'll be on their platform on Sunday.
I'm gonna be free. I should be good for Sunday. That's
Okay,
fine.
should be good for Sunday. Okay, yeah, it'll just be for this Sunday for going on their channel. This has kind of been in the works for a couple of weeks, so it's going to be a lot of fun to finally talk about some of this stuff. I know they have a lot of questions, and so hopefully they're up for it and able to answer. But I appreciate everybody. I see Choosy in the building. How we doing, Choosy? Make sure to go back and check this out from the front in case there's anything that you missed that you would like to learn about, or maybe you already know it and maybe you could correct us. I am not one of those boastful, prideful people who do not believe I cannot learn from anyone. So I feel like if you want to truly have good understanding of the Bible, you have to first put aside pride and arrogance and come like a child. Come willing to learn. So that's what you have to do. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in. It's always good to see you, Mona. Always good to see the brother Misha. Nice to see you here too, Choosy. Sunshine, glad to have you in here. Wesley, saw him in here earlier. Glad to have him in here. And anybody else who comes to check this out later on, I appreciate all of you guys for spending the time to come check out our content. And propaganda, thank you for swinging by. But until then, I guess I will see some of you all tomorrow. Because I can't tell you the exact verse, but I bet it's in there. Is carnation revolution in the Bible? I see. That will you'll have to teach me. Yes. And for those who don't know what this means, all praises to the Most High. Yes. Oh yeah. And I forgot to start off this way. My apologies, but giving all honor and glory to the Heavenly Father Yahweh for this lesson and for this teaching, and hopefully that these teachings will continue to be blessed and edifying, and that the Spirit will just guide us in the right direction. So thank you all for joining us, and I will close out with Kwam Yasharallah.
Kala Yahweh Hashem Yahushai.